Good Wednesday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and this is Real Talk with Keith Smith. Thank you kindly for joining us. We are live in downtown Charlottesville on Market Street in the heartbeat of this region, downtown Charlottesville, guys. Judah Wickhauer is this director of this fine and fair talk show, and today's show is so dynamic, and we welcome you, the viewer and listener, to chime in with questions or with comments or perspective. We want to aggregate your ideas and just chatter about them on our talk shows and on this network. We give some props to Keller Williams Alliance, trusted name in real estate, KWA and Keller Williams Alliance. Yes, Realty Partners as well. Judah Wickhauer, if you could, go to the studio camera and a 4-shot, and let's welcome a talented panel to the program. Friends, good Wednesday morning. How is everyone doing?
Good.
Wonderful.
It's great to have you guys.
You know, at a certain age, just getting up is a good thing. So that's what we are. We're up and rocking and rolling.
Especially with young kids in the household. And I think 3 of the 4 panelists here have young kids in the household.
Yeah, young and
absolutely.
old. Yes.
It's funny. Yonna and I were talking about this on the way in today. Both of us woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning and couldn't go back to sleep, and we just got up and started working. And we're like, we should have had kids at 60-something because you can't sleep anyway, and you're up. So it's kind of this weird thing that happens in nature. But, if I could get a full night's sleep, that would be a great thing at over 60. So maybe nature's playing a little bit of a trick on us. But Carly.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. You got some awesomeness because you're a professional engineer, right?
I'm Carly Wagner. I am married with 3 kids, almost 10, 7 and 3.
You're a rock star. Just say that right there. 3 kids.
I am a professional engineer. I am a consulting structural forensic engineer specializing in the building envelope. We do we started doing a lot of construction litigation, so being expert witnesses in construction litigation projects. Then some of the more sophisticated owners started engaging us to help prevent and be more proactive and stop problems before they happen. So we specialize in the building envelope. We do a lot of peer reviews for new construction, owners representation during construction to be sure that things are being constructed in accordance with the contract documents and all applicable code standards and industry standards. And then the design work that we do is retrofit, renovation, and restoration work. So my big project that I'm wrapping up right now is we were restoring the Virginia State Capitol. And
Nice.
we've redone the West Virginia State Capitol. And I do a lot of work at NIH because I specialize in hydrothermal analysis, which is heat and moisture transport across building envelope assemblies. And so I know we're talking about track builds and custom builds today. So our first home in the Charlottesville area, me and my husband built with Ryan Homes. We used a realtor back in 2009. Then our current home that we're in is a custom built home. We did not use a realtor. But as 2 engineers, we felt happy to go through assessing land, finding land, engaging the contractor, and overseeing the design and construction of our own home. Since then, I've helped a couple of other friends throughout their custom home design and construction process, and a lot of people will say, you don't know what you don't know. There is a lot to do during a construction of a custom home. And so one of the friends that I helped was Miss Katie Pearl.
KTP.
And she encouraged me to get my real estate license. So about 15 months ago, I got my real estate license, and my goal, I guess, and advocacy, where my passion is the services that we have been providing institutional owners like UVA and the state of Virginia, and building owners that have billions of dollars in building stock that they have to own for perpetuity. I don't feel like residential owners who are investing their $1 million in their forever home are getting the same owner's representation and advocacy as they should when you're investing in your home. So
that's the value proposition you provide.
That is the value proposition I provide as uniquely as a licensed professional, practicing engineer, and a real estate agent. So eventually what my goal would be, and my dream would be, is to take on 1 to 3 clients a year that are looking to purchase land, help them assess the land, help them envision what types of homes could be constructed or not constructed on the property, the constraints of the property, help them through the design process, help them through the construction process, because I negotiate construction contracts all the time, and then help them through the construction administration process, and so that they have somebody on equal ground as the builder with as much technical, I would say more technical skills about codes and compliance with contract documents than the builder, to ensure that construction is executed the way the contract documents require.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And why I love it is because Kerry's background is in construction. Keith's background is in construction and development. So we legitimately have a panel of pros when it comes to today's topic matter. A snapshot on Kerry Griggs, if we could.
Okay, yeah, so I started in the construction industry when I moved straight out of high school. Actually, I did summer's jobs as well. I was the boots on the ground, the masonry, so I started from the foundation up, turned into a carpenter, then I evolved into eventually a project manager, so I've had a little bit of experience in all things, and like Carly said, there's a lot of things that you don't know, that you just don't know until you get into the thick of it. So I've built all from tract homes, mobile homes, to multi-million custom homes. So I got a little bit of everything in there. I did a little bit of commercial construction, and from there turned into a real estate agent that also helps their clients purchase land and go from the start to finish. I look at the contracts as well and just kind of mediate between the two, between the client and the builder, and help my clients walk through the process as they're going through the construction stages. Many different clients, from your first-time home buyers buying new construction to those experienced buying new construction. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. I personally love working with land because it's such an open template that you can pretty much do anything you would like to do on it, as long as the soil, your feasibility study works fairly well.
So my background, I'm a recovering developer and builder. Everybody knows the story, yada, yada, yada. So one of the things that excited me about today is what I would want to try to do is take a little bit of a deeper dive into the difference. I call them production, but you can call them track, and custom. So let's take the easy one, right? So the easy one first is the production, right? So as real estate professionals, a lot of folks do not know the process for new construction. A lot of real estate agents do not know the process of new construction from a real estate agent's perspective. So Kerry, I'm going to let you kick off. I'm a client. I want to buy one of our fine sponsors, a Stanley Martin home, in one of their developments. What's the first thing that you're going to want to talk to me about?
So I'm going to get you pre-qualified first and make sure that you have the proper financing for it. And then once we do that, we're going to go and we're going to talk to one of their sales reps, and we're going to see what your options are as far as someone like Stanley Martin. They have communities and that they're already developing. So that versus a custom home, you're going to be limited to where you can put the location. I don't believe, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, they don't build outside of those developments that they're already doing, correct? You can't go buy a piece of
Stanley
land.
Martin or some of that. Yeah, so the pool of buyers. So since the time of great unpleasantness, between 2008 and 2010, for the most part, small to medium builders evaporated from the market. So there's the larger builders, right? These are the Stanley Martins, the Ryans, Southern Development, those kind of folks. Atlantic, Greenwood, I think is a new one on that. So they buy developments and they move on. But I want to get to the custom a little bit later because I really want to tap into that. But one of the things is, whoever real estate agents are watching, it's very important for, if our clients go without us there, what is the one thing that these clients need to talk to the representative?
Sales rep, that they're being represented by the real estate agent.
There you go.
And then this way they know they have somebody on their side that's going to be advocating for them when it comes to the building process, and get somebody that's experienced with it, somebody that knows it from the ground up, because there's going to be things that you're going to be able to help your buyers and prevent them from getting into a sticky situation. So pre-drywall
So I have
inspection.
a client right now, new construction, it's not one of our fine sponsors, did not register us, went through the contract, we had no idea of it. Now they're in a bit of a sticky wicket with them, and they didn't get a home inspection because they were never told they could get a home inspection, right? Because they won't tell you that unless you ask for it.
Pre-drywall.
Pre-drywall on it, and we're going to talk, and Carrie, I'd love your feedback on inspections, home inspections, right? And I couldn't help, my hands were tied. Now, I'm helping the best I can, but my hands were tied because they did not say, hey, I'm working with Keith and Yonna Smith.
Yeah.
So it's very important to do that. And oh, by the way, they're not getting a 3% discount or a 2% discount.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say. So for track builds, I mean, the prices that you're getting from the builders, that already has all the commissions baked in, and they're not going to back off of that. So they're just going to pocket that as extra profit to themselves. They're not going to, out of the goodness of their heart, just give you a price reduction or some free upgrades. With track homes, I guess, though, some of the pros are it's more of a streamlined process. There's less, you get to pick some packages of colors and finishes. You get to pick from 3 or 4 floor plans and a couple of upgrades. But you get to pick from the available lots, but you can't really move completely new floor plans, and you can't change the construction contract terms, whether it's fixed price. I mean, they're all going to be fixed price.
Yeah.
And in some markets, I don't think it's happening here, and definitely your sponsors wouldn't be doing this. In some markets, it has been known that, so for tract homes, the builder owns the land, and the builder owns it throughout construction, and you buy it as a turnkey home at the end of the project. So when prices were increasing astronomically in other markets, builders were selling homes literally out from under buyers. So you put a contract in.
Yeah, but I'll push back a little bit on that. So the big difference between production and custom, you know, when 2x4s were going through the roof and construction was going through the roof, they didn't have cost accelerating clauses in it where custom contracts do. And we'll get into that a little bit later. And that's a big caution for custom buyers, because if materials go up, the builder will eat a small percentage of it. After that, it's on you.
Yeah, but I was just touching on the fact that ownership and financial responsibility transitions at the end of construction. That the builder, the developer, and a tract home owns all the land, owns all the dirt, has all of that, and could theoretically sell your turnkey home. They would walk away from your contract and sell it to somebody else. I don't think that's going to happen here.
But for the sake of a talk show, I, as the buyer, can get out of that deal a lot easier. Right.
Yeah.
So it's a
you
two-edged.
don't like your loan that you ended up getting.
Your loan doesn't go through, something like that. If it's a custom, you're committed, right?
Yeah.
Because you now own.
Well, you own the land
That's
usually
exactly
on the
right.
custom, so now
So I think the big key issue for the takeaway for folks who are looking for the difference between production and custom, it's all about the land, right? On the production side of it, you do not own the land. It's just like buying any other house.
Yep.
Right? On the custom end of it, you own it, right? And when I used to do custom constructions, I used to make the property owner sign the first deed of trust over to me, because I was getting 10 million, 20 million line of credits, and I was taking all the risk. And I used to actually make them sign the first deed of trust. Don't know if that's being done now. This was 10 or 15 years ago.
I wouldn't recommend that my buyers do that.
Oh yeah, sure. Why would you not? That's a great question.
Because I think that if they wanted to fire their contractor, they should be able to fire their contractor. So for custom homes, yes, you can fire your contractor.
Yep.
Send them a cure notice. If they don't cure, it's quick to cure, they're gone. They're off the project. Now, you do have a half-constructed home that you're going to have to find somebody else to come in and complete it, but he doesn't have a lien to your property as long as you've given him your most recent draw.
Our client just went through that. Our client, Dominion Custom Homes, took over for a builder that ran into some significant financial hardship in the market.
Yeah.
I won't highlight who that builder is, so I can help, tough times for this particular outfit. But our client, John Kerber, Dominion Custom Homes, took over a home that was maybe 25-30% done. And literally had to take over the project, get the plans, and help it come to market in that state of the project.
So I'm helping 3 clients with taking over the same situation. And the problem with that is it's a listing that Yonna and I just put on at the Acres. That client is building with somebody else because of this. They lost $50,000 right? So they couldn't get back that money because of all the lien waivers and so forth and so on.
It's usually a big
It is a
loss
huge
because everybody
mess.
doesn't agree to the same value of what
exactly.
construction is completed.
Well, it's a matter of what the lender has lent on it, and they generally keep the builder behind the eight ball.
That's something else I think is in, like when we get to custom, I don't know
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
want to
no,
move on
we're-
from
we're-
track,
go-
the
you-
whole
you-
loan process
all the-
and draw process, and sometimes people have a misunderstanding about who that loan belongs to and who is actually requesting those draws.
What do you mean by that? Put that in perspective.
Oh, yeah.
So on a
This is a good
custom
topic
home,
right here.
on a custom home, it is the owner's loan. It is their funds. They should be requesting the draws. A lot of times, builders, especially in this area, because it's a small town, everybody knows everybody, builders are going directly to the bank and builders are requesting draws, whether or not they've been signed off from by the owner. And I think that's not the way it's supposed to, I know that's not the way it's supposed to go. I think that has a conflict of interest, and I think that people have to remember that it's the owner's money, and the bank works for the owner, it does not work for the builder.
So there's
if the
multiple
builder,
there's multiple
Yeah.
steps to that, right? And as an owner's rep, as an engineer, you should also be signing off
100%.
off on those things. Also, part of the problem is, and that was the problem with this other builder, which will remain nameless, they were not getting their lien waivers signed.
Right.
Yep. Well, it could be, and that's the difference between a posted job and a
Yes,
non-posted
exactly.
job. So for a non-posted job, you don't have to have individual and mechanic lien waivers signed at every
Oh,
draw.
I love geeking out on
Yeah.
this.
I know, and I think the viewers
So
and
it has
listeners
to do with how
are
the building
enjoying this.
permit is pulled and filed.
I see my boy Kerry Griggs' wheels turning here.
I want to get back into that.
Yeah, we should talk about this. Jump in.
No, it just, there's so many different facets to this conversation that I like just listening to everybody's different points of views. I've been on all sides of this spectrum without building a custom home for myself. I personally have a more production side home, but I'm just geeking out on the conversations between all three of you guys.
And touching back on the bank situation, another thing that I've had, because I've helped 3 friends just out of the goodness of my heart through the process. Another big issue that I see is in your construction documents, it has the contract, the specifications, and the drawings. In the contract, part of that will include a schedule of values. And that schedule of values is set up to dictate how much the contractor will get paid for each line item upon completion. Some banks are not actually using that schedule of values in their draw schedule, and they're instead just smearing costs of like, okay, well 2% goes to foundation, 3% goes to framing, and that might not line up exactly with the builders and your actual contract between the owner and the builder's schedule of values. So sometimes and I would advocate that banks be required to use the contract schedule of values, because if you don't use that contract schedule of values, the amount the contractor paid versus complete can vary and be ahead of the game or behind the game. And I've seen it get builders in trouble because their cash flow's messed up because the banks kind of rear loading the schedule of values versus front loading the schedule of values, and I've seen it burn owners too.
So for the folks out there who are considering a custom home, right? This posted and non-posted is a very important topic
Yes.
to talk about, because who drives that ship?
The
of
person
post-
who builds who pulls the building
Which
permit,
is typically-
the builder.
That's exactly right.
And
She knows her stuff.
The owner.
Yeah.
So construction administration is what I do for a living.
Ginny Who is giving you props. You're getting props from Dylan's Rule on Twitter. Keep going. People are loving this.
So initially, my builder did not pull the building as a posted building permit. So I had to have him redo that, because it goes into at every draw request, you have to have title sign off, you have to have your agent sign off, your escrow closing agent sign off, and you have to have a lien check against it. And if it's a posted job, you don't have to go and have individual mechanic liens signed from every single person who's walked on the project.
So you know the other reason why it's so important? As folks who swing hammers, may swing a hammer for a living.
Yes, that's
If
very
it's
true.
not, or paint or a contractor, if it's not posted, they're never going to
So
get paid.
essentially, and probably people don't know, posted means that, everybody has the building permit posted on when you have to go to construct, to be legally a construction site. Posted lists a mechanic lien agent who is an attorney, and any vendor or contractor or mechanic that steps onto the site should check that building permit and look for that mechanic's lien agent. And I believe they have 30 days to register from their first time on site. Register with that mechanic lien, so that, hey, I'm doing work on this project. You know, I reserve the right to file a lien against this property if I don't get paid.
The moment a tool comes out of a vehicle, they have 30 days from that.
Yeah.
How about this question that just came in from North Downtown's finest, Grayson? He says, for the panel, how many of the deals, new construction-wise estimate, are unrepresented deals, where it's just a client dealing with either a developer or a builder without representation? It's a great question.
I think I
Would you
don't
have?
know how we would figure
Yeah,
that out. And track versus
actually,
custom,
that's-
I don't know.
Yeah, so that's actually not that difficult to do
Okay.
on the production side of the house, right?
On the custom side, it's
On the
hard because
custom
it's the
side,
land.
it's very
It's the only
difficult.
thing you see. And
Yeah,
it's the
for sale.
transaction.
So let's talk about that for a second. From a market perspective, custom homes don't usually end up in the MLS.
No.
Nope,
Right?
mine's not in there.
They should be entered as comps only, right? To help us figure out what the market is.
If a realtor was involved in the construction contracting.
That's exactly
They're
right.
usually not.
Yeah.
So they don't
Typically, they
usually
just go
end
straight
up
to the builder.
end up in it. But on the production side, that's easy enough to answer, because all you do is we look in the individual
Yes.
transaction and it says represented or non-represented. That's an easy.
Yeah.
So I just don't have it at the tip of my fingers, but it
And
is
I
easy.
wanted to mention another just like third wheel out there that people aren't realizing. So we have production and custom. Another option is owner builder. So I don't recommend it for
No.
most people.
No.
However,
Tell us what owner builder is
So
first.
owner builder is somebody who doesn't want to have a general contractor, that they're confident either in their own
Hiring
construction
sub.
experience and their own subcontractor relationships, that they can go ahead. You do not have to be a licensed contractor to build your own home. So instead of paying a general contractor, aka builder, and his markups and overhead and supervision, you can save substantial amounts of money if you're willing and experienced enough to put in the work and do owner builder, where you are directly contracting with all of the trades and self-performing some of them if you wanted to as
So
well.
in the state of Virginia, if you build for yourself, you do not need a Class A contractor's
Correct.
license.
No.
That's an owner builder. And so what I would recommend is, unless you're a builder or an engineer and you know that it's going to be a full-time job for you for a year, and accept that, hey, I'm going to save 20% on my custom home, you know.
The GC's fee.
The GC's fee,
Yeah.
you know, I think, in hindsight, I think I would probably do owner builder in the
But
future.
you're sophisticated and have
Right,
experience.
right.
You would not say
I'm
this is
gonna
for the
be-
average Joe or average
Well,
Sal.
I think it
I wouldn't
depends who you
recommend
know. So I know my friends just did it, but they used a consultant, and I helped them throughout the
So that's
process,
the
answering
difference.
questions.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
And my uncle is getting ready to do it. He's going to be his own GC, and I'm going to help. I mean, he'll be the GC on paper,
Okay.
but I'll be the.
You're running the show behind the
Yeah.
scenes.
Yeah.
So
Luke Dravo giving Kerry Griggs props.
Hey, buddy.
Joshua Ostrowski giving Kerry props. Katie Pearl is singing Carly's praises right here. She says, Katie Pearl, who's in the game with KWA, Carly was extremely valuable to us when we were navigating our new custom build. She's extremely knowledgeable in the process. I don't know what our family would have done without her.
Thank you.
Randy O'Neill watching the program. Great suggestions by this panel. And Randy O'Neill also highlights real estate agent Collins Huff, who Randy O'Neill says knows everything about horse farms and horse properties in this area. So people dropping knowledge here. You got 6 firms watching. Kerry Griggs, I want you to jump in here. Anywhere you want to go, we adapt to you. Keith Smith, follow up after Kerry.
You know, Carly was onto something with the owner build stuff, but unless you're experienced or have some kind of knowledge or background into that, I would never recommend it. That's why you hire your GC or an engineer or a consulting. It's going to be, you know, you're hiring somebody there to go through there with you. You know, we kind of just skipped over the production homes, so I just want to go back to the production homes because that is where the majority of your clientele is going to be as a real estate agent, and that's what's going to be the most affordable for it. Custom homes are great, and if you can get a custom home, that's
The
fantastic.
percentage of the market is very minimal.
Yeah, but the production side of things, having a knowledge and experienced person there to guide you, whether it be an engineer, consulting, or a real estate agent, like Keith said earlier, most of the times homeowners don't even know that they can do a pre-drywall
So let's
inspection.
talk about that. Why is that important?
Because some of these things that the county will approve, they're only in the house for maybe an hour at the most, where your inspector's going to spend about 3 hours, and they're going to actually shake wall and check, seal plates to make sure they're securely fastened, make sure that they have blocking where it's supposed to be for your handrails coming down the line after trim stages. I mean, there's just so many things to it, just...
I think it's a misnomer. I think people think, oh, the county does inspections. Why do I
Yeah.
have to do inspections? And the county is just looking for bare minimum code requirement,
Yeah.
which means I am not illegal. That doesn't mean I'm quality.
I have never done a pre-drywall
No.
home inspection that I did not end up with a punch list.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And that's the other good thing about it. So what happens is you have your engineer, because you can hire an engineer to do that, right? Or a home inspector to go do that. You generate this list because we have a process with a home inspection removal contingency addendum, and there's a list, and then you get to get these lists done, and then we, or the engineer or the home inspector, gets to go back and say, okay, these things are checked constantly. And it's just, I think you're giving the building inspector I've never seen a building inspector be in a house more than 10, 15 minutes.
If
Yeah.
they go in, I
I tried to be
followed the
generous so
inspector
that-
one time to my house, and I was happy
I've never,
because there was an issue with one of our staircases, and they wanted to put a door where there couldn't be a door. And I knew the answer to it and what we wanted fixed. And the inspector, I was like, great, we're following him in. I'll carry him in, and I'll tell them, hey, don't they have to have a 3-foot extension on the landing here? They can't put a door right here. So I went into the house. The inspector never got out of his car. He then just signed the papers and left.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, wait a second. I was going to have the inspector here to reiterate to my builder, like, hey, you can't get away with putting a door
So
here.
to that respect, like we just closed a new construction at Lake Monticello. Because of my experience, I did the final walkthrough, took a look at it, and they took a dryer vent from the second story, went through the garage ceiling, penetrated the drywall, made a right, and went out. So they penetrated the fire
Yeah, the half-hour thermal barrier. Yep.
envelope, and the building inspector didn't catch it.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, building inspectors don't. So county building inspectors actually have no liability and it's nothing.
So what happened here, and we will leave names of people out, they got the CO, then poked a hole through it and did it.
So, man, this is such a delicate topic because, these people are out here doing the inspection, but like they said, it's very basic
15 minutes,
inspections, and I actually carry a code book in my truck just so that when I am on a job site, or I ask the inspector to, if something fails, because every now and then you'll get caught and then something, well, not get caught, but they'll fail something. And so I just simply ask them, well, what's the best remedy of it? And then so we go to the code book, and I try to educate myself because there's no way that you can know every code that's out there, or maybe you
Well,
can.
I have a pretty good memory of codes.
Well, I mean, it's ever changing.
No
yeah,
doubt
no, I
about
know,
that.
but
Right,
I
that's
sit
what
on
she does.
committees that write codes.
But
Yeah.
it's ever changing though, so there's
I
no
understand,
possible way that
yeah.
you know
But
every
the point
code.
No,
the point I
not
was
every
trying to
single
bring
code.
here is that's why having a trusted advisor, part of it, an engineer, a real estate agent, a home inspector through that, if that client wasn't represented, it would have closed. They would have moved into it with a dryer vent coming through a fire protection, penetrating the firewall and going out. So that's why it's important, even if we're not engineers or haven't built 600 homes or swing a hammer, there's some basic coverage that realtors can provide, particularly along with the home inspectors in the new construction environment. This case was not a simple mistake. This case was something more than that, and it got caught at the end.
You're getting props right now from Katrina Elizabeth
She used to work with us.
on Facebook. She's watching right now. Realtors watching the program. Ivy Haynes, hello. You got a planning commissioner watching the program right now. Kyle Irvin with the police department watching the show. Rachel GM is giving you the hearts emoji on the feed right now. Dr. John Shabe, the owner of Pro Renata, watching the program. The entrepreneur Andre Xavier, Trip Stewart, the real estate investor. Roger Voisinay giving the show props. Seth Batten giving the show props right now. Woody Fincham, hello. This question's come in, and this is a very good question. And why don't I throw this to Kerry? This is from Nancy Long. She says, what's the panel's take on new construction market over the next 6 to 12 months?
I think that's where most of your business is going to be at. I don't see owners that have a 3% interest rate, 3.5% interest rate selling anytime soon. So I think your best bet is probably new construction if you want to get into the home in the next 12 to 24 months.
What do you take on that, Carly? I know you got a take.
Yeah, I think 12 to 24 months, that's key. And I mean, I really feel for those that need to be in a home before 12 to 24 months. And that's where maybe you got to find a rental.
Yeah.
And I think 24 months is, you should plan for 24 months with construction these days, right now.
Yeah.
So there's a difference, right? We're getting back to just production and custom.
Yeah.
It's clearly on the custom side, you're 24 months, assuming you can even find a builder.
Yeah.
That's
To do the
And
work.
assuming you already have the land.
Right.
So
You know,
right.
if you're looking for land.
After this question, I
Yeah.
wrote down the word land, because this is very important to have that conversation, how you
Correct.
acquire the land and how you go through the process. I can tell you on the production side, it is slowing down. It's slowing down intently, and it's slowing down because the builders, the production builders, don't have any inventory.
Yeah.
So, you know, what they're doing is and I'm in the room in a lot of these discussions, they're trying to tailor their output with their input. So how many lots are coming online and how many homes are going out, and tailor their
Because of
production.
higher interest rates and carrying costs.
The second part is, I can tell you, I know at least of probably 1,000 lots to 1,500 lots that are just being in the horizontal work, that they're waiting for that very thing, Carly. They're waiting for that very thing for somewhere in the first or second quarter for interest rates to drop, and then they're going to start turning product out. So we're going to be in a lull somewhere between now and new construction on the production side, I think until the second quarter, somewhere around that, and then you're going to start seeing more product.
What do you think, Kerry?
I think he's right. Until these interest rates come down, I don't think the builders are going to move on much. Even, you know, custom builders.
Well, it's inflation too.
Yeah.
The costs are just, and they can sit on the land.
I know builders now, you know, I tend to do a lot of new construction, so builders now, they're not even popping them out of the ground. There's no spec homes being built, any of that stuff. So basically, you have to promote a floor plan on a piece of land that either the builder owns, or that, you know, or find clients that are ready to build, and then have to find a builder that will build on that piece of land itself. I think there are very limited builders that will build on an individual's piece of land if it's not a custom home. And if you are looking in that, you know, anything less than 450, 500,000, man, that is a tough market to be in right now. Unless you want to go with one of their
Townhome.
you can go with a townhome, but a lot of people that are looking for that 550, let's say 650.
One of our builder clients, and he's custom, doesn't touch anything under 1.5.
Oh yeah, exactly.
You can't touch a custom.
It's
Like
not a
literally, it's like
custom
it's not
home, not
even
a
worth,
custom
not
home.
even worth the time.
I mean, you show me a builder that will build a, you know, 3,000 square foot home, 650 on a, you know, just a random homeowner's piece of land. There's very few of them out there, unless you're on a panel where you can tell me at least a list of them.
I'm not a list. I think, so it's like the whole thing, time, quality, cost, pick
Yeah.
two. So there are some builders that will build, I mean, ours was under 6. I know, I mean, and it's a nice home.
For just the project, not including the
That
land.
was for construction.
That was construction.
Construction.
Okay.
Yeah, it was construction, and that was in 2019. though.
Right, different
But
labor
so
market and cost of goods market.
My friend who
Before the-
built their own GC, they were under 6. My uncle who's building, he's going to be under 6.
So that's the vertical.
Yeah.
That's
Not
the
including
vertical.
land acquisition.
Not including the land.
And-
no. But I
and-
mean, if custom, you have the land. You've got to own the land outright before you move in.
But also, and this is an expense that most folks do not think of, the cost to run the driveway a quarter mile down the road.
Site work.
Or exactly right, the horizontal work, the septic work, the well work. Closest power is a half a mile away, and you have to pay to bring it.
Trench.
Well,
to
that's
the-
why you need your realtor when you're looking at land to talk you through internet and all of
So
that
let's do that, because that's what I
you
want to
know.
get to.
So,
I want to get to.
My
steep
favorite.
slopes, the setbacks, the zoning, what you can build. Can you have an accessory dwelling unit? Is there stream buffers? What other easements are on the property?
I love this.
Doing
I love this
doing a
conversation.
soil study and understanding what the soil study says,
Is it feasible?
understanding and getting well records of neighbors and how deep they were, so you can get an order of magnitude cost, an idea of what your well is going to cost.
So how
How?
do we protect our client in a land purchase? so
I do
they-
all that research for them.
So how do we protect our client?
Study
in a
period.
Study period.
Yeah, a feasibility study
And
period. Yep.
feasibility study. So a land contract has a provision in it. You have to negotiate it, right? You have to negotiate the
I
time.
think it's 11, Article 11.
I believe you're right. Well done. Well,
I
11.
told you, I can remember codes and
11.
contracts.
So awesome.
11 is feasibility. 12 is septic.
Soil, yeah.
Soil. There you
Actually,
go.
my-
I love this
Yeah.
right here.
So,
What's your name? There you go.
so not only that, we always talk about the soil study well and everything like that, but your study period is not just that. It's finding out who your electric company is, how far they have to bring the electric to the. Is there a requirement that most of my clientele is they have to have high speed internet or
That's-
fiber optics. So that's what your study period is there for. It's not just to test the soil and see if it's feasible to put a house on the property. The study period is meant for all kinds of things.
And the term in it is at your sole discretion.
Yeah.
So you really don't have to give a list of what
No.
you're studying. And if there's anything in it that you do not like, it's like the HOA
Yeah.
provision in a contract that you can terminate the contract because you find something that you don't have to give any excuse, any reason.
Yeah,
you
the
can
article's
terminate.
written vaguely enough that it's
Yeah.
that you have to do your due diligence feasibility study, including, but it doesn't exclude anything else, X, Y, and Z, and then that the purchaser's intent for the property can be
I
fulfilled.
believe, and so you probably can recite this verbatim.
Ashley Palmer saying hi to the panel right now. What's up, Ashley Palmer?
Hey,
She's
Ashley.
watching the show.
Hey, Ashley.
She sold
Town
my Belvedere.
Realty, I believe. Town Realty. Charles Welton saying, Kerry, the hardest working man in the business right
He's actually
there.
a really good contractor himself. He does a good building as
Where
well.
Scott-
does he build?
He does Palmyra, Buckingham area.
He's
all
giving you
over the
props.
place. Another tradesman. I love the tradespeople.
Scott Gillespie, Griggs, can't help but tune into these chats when you're a guest. Good relevant talk
Thanks,
for me
brother.
to tune into as well from Scott Gillespie right now. You have 8 real estate firms watching the panel right now. I see 3 engineering firms watching the panel
do
right
you know
now.
which ones?
And a couple of settlement attorneys. I will highlight them in a matter of moments. But first, the question, this one's come in right now for the panel. Find a piece of land in Albemarle County right now to build and tell me how this project can be constructed in the next 18 months. I understand that new construction may be a way to solve the tight inventory we have right now in the market, but please prove me wrong and show me where the land is to build and a project that can be finished in less than 18 months. That's a great
Well,
comment
I think
from
we-
Sally
It's
right there.
funny.
We said
Before he asked
24.
that question, I'm
Yeah.
looking for land.
Yeah, so
Available.
there is
Well, the reason
land
she's
available.
talking about this is because of lease renewals.
Yeah.
She goes, because it's going to
Yeah.
tie us into long-term leases here. It's a
Yeah.
great topic right
Yeah,
here.
so I have it's Greene County. I have some land under contract in Greene County. They close on Friday. They probably will build within 3 years, though, not 18 months. 'cause
3
they need
years?
They want to build up their cash.
Okay.
So they want to build up their cash. If you're doing custom, that's another big thing. I really recommend you have a lot of cash on hand because you are going to need it.
You're going to go over.
You're going to go over, and
What's up, Roger Voisinay?
but there's land. There's a couple
Yeah.
of lots off Buck Mountain Road. I live off Buck Mountain Road. It was originally like a 27 lot thing that's now been split into 5 or 6 different lots. Albemarle County. There's a lot off of it's in Barbersville.
On Buck Mountain. you
Not
can
off Buck Mountain. That's in Earlysville.
Advanced Mills?
It's
Jamie
not
Turner's
Advanced Mills,
watching.
on east of 29. They're actually Palmer's, Gary and Ashley Palmer's listings. The road, Burley Station
Yep.
Road. I have a friend who is going to be subdividing 2 acres off her farm and be listing it soon. There's land in the 18 months. If you have a builder and a house already designed, maybe 18 months.
Yeah,
If
but-
you don't have a builder and a contract in place and a house designed, like
Or
we were
land
saying
acquired.
before,
Yeah.
it's 24 months.
Even if you have the land, by the time going through the lending process, the
The
design
design,
process,
selections,
the selections,
So
and all
Sally
that.
goes, that's my point here. How is
Yeah.
this going to solve the tight inventory market if it's this long a process
Yeah.
and this
Well,
expensive?
it's not going to.
So
I mean-
let's be honest. what the conversation we're having about custom homes is not
Not the
ever,
solution to
is
supply.
never
No,
going to
no.
help. This is not going to increase housing affordability. It's not going to do any of that. But
Kerry's itching to jump in here on this topic.
you think differently, huh?
Well, no. This is, I've been on this show a couple times now, and this is why I always preach to, teach the trades. This is something that has been a big problem.
Yeah.
For the past, as long as I've been around, everybody has pushed the college and get a nice desk job. These are why we need to be pushing the trades, because for every 4 people that retire, there's only 1 person to step into their place, and that's a big problem.
He's
It's a
1,000%
huge
right.
problem,
And I'll
and-
put this in perspective. K-Tech, the Charlottesville Albemarle Technical Education Center, doesn't even have enough teachers to teach the students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're looking to make some bank and
Masonry, concrete,
there
framing.
it is. Young
That's the-
millennials and Gen Zers, maybe it's not the
HVAC.
4-year college where you're coming out $250,000 in debt with the degree. You're
Ooh.
probably going to have to go to graduate school. I'm not throwing
But you're
shade.
going to
I'm
come
just
out
being
making
realistic.
$100,000 a year.
You're going to make, if you go into the trades, you're going to make $100,000. You're going to start right off the bat. And I think the trades have gone back to being sexy again, where Kerry has made the point.
I think construction workers are sexy.
Okay, there we go. There we go from Wagner right now.
Nothing like a mason.
Ashley Palmer says Gilbert Station Road,
Yes,
2 lots for sale under $200K right now.
Yep.
And Ashley says Carly was my first listing ever.
Aw.
I absolutely love her. You're getting props from Brian Harris. Dude, the show is blowing up right now.
Fantastic.
So viewers and listeners, you can ask questions to this panel. I think we got the pros here. This is a really good one for the panel. Why are the production builders coming to a complete halt with their development projects?
Because they don't want to build spec homes.
Yeah, and
They
just
don't
have
want
it
to
sell
carry
on
and
the
pay
inventory.
interest in all that land.
I
They-
just literally looked, single-family detached, Albemarle County, new construction, there's 7 homes.
Single-family detached, Albemarle
Yeah.
County.
There's 7 homes.
So
new
those are spec
construction.
homes.
These, some are spec homes, most of them are paper.
Okay.
And they're
Yeah.
not
Paper
even
listings.
probably, they're not
Yeah.
under construction.
They-
I've got one of those
Why
is
would
in
they-
Profit
I mean-
Ridge.
So the answer is,
that
as
together.
we said earlier, they don't want to overbuild
Yeah.
themselves.
Everybody
So that-
remembers 2008.
But it also gives owners the ability to impact
Sorry.
some change. Like if you go for new construction, owners want to make those selections. That's the appeal of new construction. You picked out the floors. You picked out this house. If it's already built or
So when it was
90%
crazy
built,
in 2020, 2021, to your point, they would have houses that they would just start and they would tell the client selection's already made.
Yep.
yeah,
A lot.
And people would buy it
Yeah.
and move on. The market's changed considerably since then.
They do for the production builders or semi-production
Liberty will.
there's some good, they do run the data and they find out what is
They are
most
super smart
desirable.
people.
Yeah,
They are
and
super
they do have designers come in there and they do make color palette selections because no one wants to paint their house bright pink, or maybe they do, but it's not going to have great resale value. So these people come in and they do the data research.
So the other difference on time, production builders, you can get into a contract now, depending on in 9 months you'll be in a home.
yeah, because they have much bigger subcontractors, and it does go back to like what Kerry was saying with the trades. Like
They have economies of scale.
I always say Charlottesville is the area with more education than common sense.
Mm.
Like we are
True.
too hyper educated, and we can't lay a tile in our bathroom floor. We can't replace a wax ring on our toilet. And there's enough people who are so educated enough that they're willing to pay the tradesman $300 an hour to replace a wax ring on his toilet. So
Dude, I had
the
the project we're doing on the second floor, the electrician we called, he said, I'm not showing up for any work that's under $750.
Yeah, I've had landscapers
He literally
tell
told me
they're
that.
not dropping their trailer for less than $1,000.
Yes.
I
The
mean-
guy, I'm like, I have a project for you. Can you come within the next 2 weeks,
that's the
Kerry? He
shortage.
goes, I ain't showing up for less than $750.
So as one who's been in this business since '87 and seen cycles go on and on, that's always a slippery slope, right?
Because the business dries up, and then people like me have sour taste with that.
Cyclicals happen. 2008, times of great unpleasantness. Part of the reason why we are short is because of, hey, everybody was talked into going into college. The other reason is the drywall person, the mason, whatever, went to work for Walmart, making very good money, health benefits. Oh, by the way, I'm indoors.
And it's not hard work.
I'm not sucking drywall
Yeah,
dust,
it's hard
right?
work.
On that stuff of it. But on the flip side of that, I talk about this all the time. My little brother is a trim. I call him Doctor. He's a trim carpenter, high-end trim carpenter in Richmond.
That's me.
Right? Shows up with his little bag of tools. He says, give me the job by myself. I don't want nobody around it, and he'll go through and do it. And he makes more money than most doctors make.
Yeah.
Kristen Diane says, go Kerry, full of knowledge right now. You're getting props from Kristen. You're getting props right now from, is it Joanna Moore?
Oh, gosh.
Laura Sanders giving you props right now.
Thank you, guys.
Agents, jump in with questions. Ray Cadell, welcome to the program. Commercial broker John Neal watching the program. Aaron King, one of Western Emerald's finest graduates watching the show. Kelly Jackson, 18 Panera
Kelly.
Breads under her belt and management and ownership watching the show as we speak. Travis Hackworth in Danville. I see 4 real estate investors of, I'm not going to blow your guys' spot, so I'm going to do a very, very conservative estimate. I would say 8 figures in holdings easy. One of them 9 figures in holdings easy. Watching the program right now. This is a question for Kerry Griggs and the entire panel. Kerry, what does he think with interest rates rising and the impact that's going to have on the car footprint at the same time of the citizenship expanding in its size, basically meaning more people moving to this area? A lot of headwinds when it comes to affordability. The show is yours on that topic.
Me and Keith were actually just talking about this yesterday at dinner.
Last night,
and
over a cocktail.
Oh, yep. And so, what he was saying is, you would think that the interest rate would drive, the home purchases down, but it's actually going about with the same, with the purchasing and the interest rates going up. It's kind of crazy if you think about it. But, let's take it on a 10-year average. Just the last 3 years, we have only seen these record low inventory rates. Not inventory. That too, but interest rates, because on a 10-year average, you're right around that 7.5% if you really look at the numbers. And in the 80s, you were still looking at like 12%. So I'm not going to say that it's always a good time to buy, because that just sounds like a salesman's point of view. But you have to really dive into it and see what the person's needs are. Are they going to be here for the next 10 years? And is it going to be better for them to be a homeowner at 8% versus renting and throwing their money away? Well, not throwing their money away, just being a little bit more flexible as far as where they live. So you just really have to dive into everybody's personal real estate needs.
Great take.
On October 9th, we're going to have Dr. Lisa Sturvant, who's the chief economist, for Bright, and Woody Fincham sitting in here, and we're actually going to be doing our quarter-over-quarter reports to everybody for the car footprint in each individual jurisdiction to see where we were tracking quarter-over-quarter. We're going to be beating car to the punch to get the reports out. But look, this inventory crunch is going to be around for a long time.
You think so, Kerry?
As long as people are
Carly?
fat and happy affording their 2-3% interest rates. So I think maybe another thing that I'm just thinking of here that would help with the inventory and just help with the overall is, and I don't know how you force it, but having wages increase, like an increase in wages will get people more comfortable with the higher monthly payments, and then they're not as fearful as leaving their 3%
But
mortgage
wages
rate.
are increased.
But
median.
when you take into account inflation,
Yeah.
wages have not.
So what it really
paced
is there's a
inflation and
separation
housing
of wages,
things.
right?
There's
There's a
a
high
wealth gap.
There's a
Yep.
wealth gap.
Yeah.
And it's only going to get bigger.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, it's going to widen big
Yeah.
time, especially when you see the influence, and I talk about this all the time, biotech, data science school, biotech school, and 11 billion smackaroos from Amazon into Louisa. You saw that?
I didn't see that, but that's great news.
$11 billion investment from Amazon. The
2
board of
facilities.
supervisor off the record said 1,000 new citizens coming, incremental new citizens, just from the $11 billion in Louisa.
And that's employees. That doesn't include the contractors and all the work that's going to take the
Where are these
build.
people going to live? Seriously.
So the Mets are doing really good.
Who? Seriously,
I
if
wanted
we
to
get
see
8,000 new
where-
people moving here with data science, with UVA, with student enrollment, with UVA hiring more people, and the Amazon thing, where are 8,000 new people going to live over the next 5 years?
I'm
So-
glad you said.
No, it's
go
okay.
ahead.
You answer, sir.
I'm glad you said in the Louisa area, because if you are willing to drive, most people are Albemarle. That's where everybody was trying to move to. But if you stretch out a little bit, as Carly was saying earlier, you got places like Scottsville. That's still Albemarle County. But are you willing to drive 30 minutes to get to work if you work in the city of Charlottesville? You
So-
have places like Louisa and Flavanna that still
When you
have
take
land.
the country roads, it's really only another 4 minutes. The 20 minutes of everyone's commute is once you get inside 250 or you get on 29. Like the country roads are where you actually feel like you're going home. I like my commute
So
home.
in new construction, new projects coming up, if everybody's in agreement that attached homes are probably the best entry level, townhomes, that kind of thing. So I just asked Judah to put up slide number 2 on that, which is the car footprint, single family detached versus attached. So it talks about but what's the important stat on there is what I have written in it. Over 95, since 8 quarters going back, 95% of all townhomes were built in Albemarle County.
Single family attached.
No,
That's
single
it,
attached. I
single family
apologize. Thank you.
attached.
Look at
Yeah,
you.
is what you said.
You need to come back on more often because he's the only one that corrects me all the
For
time.
real, she should come back more. She knows her stuff. I sincerely mean
So
that.
single family attached. Thank you.
Yeah, single family
Townhomes, 95% of them are built in Albemarle County.
Well, and a lot of that has to do with zoning and infrastructure availability. You can't have attached homes on well and septic.
Now that correct. So
So
we're
offer insight to that for the layman that's watching the program.
For Green, Louisa, areas that don't have public water and public sewer systems available outside of, your 29 and 33 corridor, you can't build attached homes because you don't have the space to have all of your utilities and infrastructure privately owned on your own property. A well and a septic is your drinking water supply and your wastewater system. So single family attached, that all has to be off-site. So it has to be tied into the major
100%.
infrastructure, which, a lot of counties, Goosehead, Green,
Wouldn't support
Augusta,
it.
they don't have that. They're agricultural, historically counties.
and
Eric Thompson dropping comments here. Eric
So-
Thompson watching the
Yes.
show.
So in their growth areas, some of them have. So I
Yeah.
can share, Fulvana County's got about 200 townhomes coming up. Greene County has probably closer to 500 townhomes coming up. This is over the process of the next 12 to 24 months. So there are going to be some of these counties that are going to have some townhome products come out of the ground because these development process started 8 years ago, 6 years ago, and they're now starting actually to get ready to go horizontal and vertical. So you're going to see that 95% change a little bit, and I think you're going to see Albemarle County slowing down.
Yeah, like to your 500 you mentioned, I think we talked about, that's in Standardsville that you talked about.
No, these are already under construction.
In green
in
by
green-
sheets.
By
Okay.
sheets.
But I think that's the thing, the single family attached, it takes long-term planning, and
Yep.
you can't just say, you know what, I'm gonna buy this land and I'm gonna build 12
Yep.
townhomes on it.
Yep.
It takes long-term planning and approvals and studies and then bringing the infrastructure in. So it's a good 5 years before you can, developer buys the land and is actually moving dirt and moving people.
Kelsey
I would
says
say at
this.
least 5 years.
Ashley, we'll get to your comment. Ashley Palmer. Kelsey says this prior to the Palmer comment. And the townhomes that are coming to market have 8s and 9s in front of them. It's not like they're actually affordable. And she highlights is North Point
North Point.
with those
Yeah,
projects there.
No. So
Those
this
are
isn't in
single-family
green.
homes.
This is
Okay.
in green in Fulvana. They won't have 8s in front of them.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, but North Point does.
North Point.
North
So
Point
I,
are single family detached.
Okay, that's what she's
They might
highlighting
have
right now.
some
They
buildings
have
that are
attached product there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's more of like your custom production kind of home.
Oh, they're beautiful.
well,
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
so
they're not custom. They're
the
not
definition
custom.
of a
But they're elevated production.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're
It's
elevated.
elevated production.
luxury production.
Yeah.
There you
much-
go.
There you
So
go.
the difference to attach this is some of those are what I call villas or duplexes. They are not necessarily stick townhomes where there's 5 units or 6 units side by side. They're duplexes with a little bit of yard, and that throws off those numbers because those numbers tend to be a little considerably higher
Yeah.
than that. My reference was to Fulvana and Green, and they'll probably be in the high 2s and the low 3s when they come online.
Those will sell all day,
Yeah.
every day, and
Yeah,
twice
like
on
twos.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Without a
Man,
doubt.
it would be awesome to see homes in the 2s again.
But why is some of the cost so high? What is the percentage of,
Labor, inflation,
Supply
cost
and
of
demand.
goods.
come on, the regulatory thing?
Yeah, 24% of new construction is red tape. All these things are happening literally at the same time. All these
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, there's actually like studies that building codes have driven up the cost of construction like 24%. Just building codes, not zoning, but just to get the building to meet
The
code.
overall regulatory, nationwide, the overall regulatory cost on new construction on a national average of $400,000 is $94,000. So roughly $100 grand to $400,000 worth of construction is regulatory.
We love government.
And so talking about a low-hanging fruit to try to get cost down and probably get affordability down, that's a great place to look, right? So
I wouldn't, though, recommend. I mean, if you think about it, they are there serving a purpose. Like, we want our homes to be safe. You want some measures in place, regulatory. But
I did my first development in '97. It was 150 lots, central water and sewer, VDOT roads, curb and gutter, the whole 9 yards. From the time I acquired the land, rezoned it, got a site plan, and put a bulldozer on the job site, it took me 6 months. Mm-hmm. We just did a project in Fluvanna County, which is the county that I did it in. It took 6 years.
yeah.
Bananas.
Well, I mean,
That costs money,
Oh, yeah. Carrying costs.
tons of money.
yeah.
I mean, and you know who's crushing it right now? The Justin Shimps of the world. And you know what? We love Justin. He watches the program.
Going to see him in a few minutes.
Follows
after
the
this is over.
feed. But this guy is crushing it right now.
He's also really, really good at it.
He's excellent at his job. He's excellent at his job. But he's got, I would say, work for months? Would you say
I would
years?
say there's a shortage of engineers
Yeah.
across the board, too.
There's a shortage
Yeah.
of everything,
Yeah,
and,
there's a
and the
shortage
risk
of
that
people.
he takes though, and the engineers take, is I could pull a project at any time
Yeah.
and say, look, I'm not going to finish it.
Correct.
The environment
'Cause we
is.
sell our time. I'm not going to put too much time
It's
on
right.
it. But, yep.
It's the interest rates, whatever it is. I'm pulling the project and I'm moving on.
We have to go. Kerry, go ahead.
No, I was just, she said it great. They're selling their time, whereas, some of these other trades, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, people are not going to go without that. So that is a demand that, has to be met.
So how can we fix that? What's the
We
solution?
need to have more babies. I mean, that's really the root of it.
Not in
all.
my house.
Our birth rates are down.
We have
like,
to- Yeah.
It's interesting you should say that. I'm the oldest of 5.
yeah, I'm the third of 6.
But how do you have more babies if it's so expensive
to live and you have
and
dual
you have
income.
babies.
I
So,
know that you
yeah.
have to have.
We
yeah.
have to, as a society, change the definition
values
of
and
what
success.
That's the right
success
answer.
looks like, right? Electrician that is making $200,000 a year, that is super successful. It's in a trade. It's not a sexy, you're not out there on Instagram, with all these posts and everything.
But this iPhone can't do that work, by the way.
You're right, and
Right.
it is not something that you can delegate or have.
Chat GBT.
Yeah, any of
I
that
think
stuff.
same too. Moms who are staying home and raising 4 or 5
Ooh,
kids.
yeah,
I mean,
that's right.
or the husband staying home and raising 4 or 5
Either way,
kids.
I mean-
I think we are going to have a shortage of people. We have a shortage of people. We're importing our labor source of a lot of industries right now.
So my wife is Austrian. We have a pretty tight connection to Europe. So in Europe, they look at this very differently. It's a perception thing, right? The trades are looked at very different. They looked at as if they're professionals, and they make huge amount of money. And my nephew in high school had a decision: did I want to go to the university track or to the trades track? So he's actually a pipe fitter. He works on steam pipes, and he works all over the world, and he goes ahead and does this and makes a very good, very good living.
Ashley Palmer says she'll have more babies. Actually, that just made me laugh out. Go ahead, Keith. Sorry about that.
No. Babies are always a good conversation. Grandbabies are even better, but
Yeah.
we
Donna
love
Patton completely agrees with the panel. She says we need more tradesmen and tradeswomen.
So how do we?
Yeah.
So we're trying to fix inventory, right?
Yeah.
Which we're trying to come up with a solution.
That's like generational.
Yeah.
Like, we got to look at acute
Well,
solutions
inventory is a generational
and
thing now.
generational. Yeah,
It's
that's
a
what I'm saying. Is
generational
the
thing.
root cause of what we've got here is not going to be fixed in 18 months. It's a generational.
It's a generational
societal problem.
It's a generational thing. People are not encouraged in high school to consider this. I think that's going to start changing. I think Jerry's spot on. It's starting to become sexy now, and I think you're going to see that. But look, we're all trades folks. You don't come out of high school, you just don't become an electrician overnight. These are years, and it's almost 4 years, right, to go through an apprentice program in order to go ahead and do this. So it's similar to college.
So I have a pipe dream, and it is something that I am going to throw out here in the universe because I would love people to reach out and connect with me about this. Is I would love to have a boys and girls club attached to a trade school. So those people that know that they're not going to go into college or have no interest in going into college can come in the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, can come and learn a trade so that they have years of experience before they even get out into the working force. And then it can be sponsored by builders that are, short workers. It can be sponsored by, government-funded programs, and we make this a legitimate thing, bring it back to the school systems, and then we act
Where
like
they're interns, and
Yeah, they're
actually instead of
interns.
sitting in
But they gotta
social hall,
Yeah.
they're going and working under an electrician.
Yeah,
the direct
and
supervision
kids,
of an
the
electrician.
kids.
Yep.
Our newest tenant, Kyle Miller, who you know very well.
Yeah, very well.
We were chatting over here at this desk, and he said he would love to launch a trade school that trains all the silos of work for anything tied to real estate. And then he's got the infrastructure for sales, for human resources, for project management, for accounts payable, accounts receivable. And then he would want to own the school,
Yep.
train the labor, and then have that labor funneled to the projects that he's working on or he's working alongside with his clients. So essentially creating the pipeline of talent for his projects and his clients' projects.
I mean, and we do it in a professional world. Like, we always are doing educational seminars, like at the International Masonry Institute or Brick Institute of America. Like, we do free seminars and training for these tradesmen, and I feel like there should be some more interconnectedness.
Let's just real. Let's call it real. Here's the real problem. You're told to become an engineer. You're told to become a doctor.
Were you told to become an engineer?
So I was,
let me get
my
this out.
dad got me into,
Yeah,
he was a general contractor. My dad was a general contractor.
Yeah, so when I say you, I'm talking about everything other than this show.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Out in the world, the proverbial we or you is being told, be an engineer, be a doctor, get a 4-year degree. To Kyle's concept, which is freaking awesome, the problem is nobody out there in the world is saying,
Be an
hey,
auto mechanic.
be an auto mechanic, be
I
a
think
diesel.
that's changing though.
Well, I hope you're right.
Well,
Me
Jeremy
too.
Rowe, is that the guy with Dirty Jobs?
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
does a lot of that
Yeah.
for
But
He's
Yeah.
also one of the
trades.
fantastic presenting partners of this show.
No, he's
No,
talking
that's
about.
the,
Oh, I know she's talking about. I know,
Yeah.
but also the Jeremy Rowe agency, and he's
Yeah.
watching the show literally right now. We love you, Jeremy.
Jeremy,
It
I'm
is
sorry
Jeremy
I
Rowe,
missed that
too.
pickup.
The guy with Dirty Jobs is also Jeremy Rowe.
Yeah,
pretty sure that is it.
no.
But I think there's something to be said about that. If we can make it more appealing to those, and I'll just put it out there. I have friends of mine that are electricians, HVAC guys, making $500,000 a year because they decided to go get a license. It does take a little bit of work, but so does a 4-year college degree. I never had the desire to go to college. I eventually did. I got 2 associate's degrees and had the ability to go to UVA, which I declined because the people that I was working around all had college degrees, and I was making the same amount of money as they are.
Isn't
and now,
that interesting?
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting how that works?
And now, without a college degree, 2 associates, which I don't consider that, like a 4-year bachelor's degree. And that is like the baseline for most job entry levels right now. And, I'm doing very well for myself, and I'm fine with it.
Well, my hope is the proverbial they outside of this network and this show encourage people like that. These are real careers, right? These are real. You can raise families. You can get pensions. These are really excellent
Where
jobs.
are you finding pensions? That's my question. Where are you finding these pensions?
He's talking about the New York unions. I
Yeah,
don't
the
think he's
government-
talking
the
about
government
Charlottesville.
jobs.
I'm thinking about the
not talking
strike that just ended with my daughter up in New York. But I'm at 401ks. There's retirement plans. There's all different kind of structures on that. If you go work for UVA as a electrician, you'll get a pension, right? At the end of it, a state pension.
So this comment, Charlottesville was just named by Outside magazine or Outside publication. Did you guys see this?
The happiest place to live, or
The
be
fifth
or
happiest,
something?
the fifth
Yeah.
happiest in America. And in the analysis of Charlottesville, listen to this. This is a hell of a statistic. Roughly 30% of the Charlottesville population has a graduate degree. Roughly 30%. The unemployment rate in the Charlottesville area is 2.7%, which is one of the lowest in the entire country. Then they talk about the number of people that have degrees associated with the University of Virginia in the area. And this goes exactly to what Donna Patton is saying and what the panel is talking about, that outside of high-level white-collar jobs, it's very difficult, potentially, to find the blue-collar jobs locally.
Well, to
Yeah.
Carly's point, we're overeducated.
But
You just proved it.
Well, and what I thought was interesting is why I personally don't agree that degrees equals happiness. So in an article about happiness, I think it's interesting that they're toting degree statistics.
Yeah.
I think they're utilizing the
That it's a
UVA.
highly educated
That's what they're
area.
doing.
Yeah.
It's highly educated and highly affluent,
But
and
again,
the economy is strong. But to
You
your
need
point,
common sense with education.
100%. I'll
You
take a
have
guy
one
that's
without
street
the other.
smart over book smart any day of the week.
So to Jerry's point, though, that also indicates income,
Yes.
right? And then income, the more
There's
money you
cost.
have.
A lot of the trades do come from Waynesboro and Richmond and Culpeper. They're not.
So we were talking about Stanley Martin Homes as one of the fine sponsors in that, and they're a production folks. Most of their contractors come from Northern Virginia,
Northern
other
Virginia,
side of the mountain.
Richmond,
They
yeah.
are not local contractors. Some of them are, but for the most part, usually the excavating folks are more local
yeah.
because of the cost of
Equipment,
equipment
yeah.
and mobilization and stuff like that. But generally, everything else, they're framers, they're drywall folks, so forth and so on, are all coming from outside the area.
Stephanie Keller giving the show props right now. Lindsay Beltran watching the program right now, the Realtor. You got Bashir watching the program right now. Bob Yarborough in Redfields. Former delegate candidate Bellamy Brown watching the program. Seth Liskey, who's very quickly turned into a significant real estate investor in downtown Stanton, is watching the show right now. How about this comment from Christopher? Prove me wrong, Waynesboro is the new or old Belmont. And I'm going to unpack this comment. I think this is what he means. At one time, Belmont, a very blue-collar, working-class neighborhood. Now Belmont, very Tony, and the epicenter of $600,000, $700,000, $800,000, homes.
Yippee.
But at one time, Belmont was the neighborhood of the working class in the city. So Christopher's making a parallel or an analogy to Waynesboro as now being the new Belmont for Charlottesville. Who wants to tackle that?
I think that ship has already sailed. I think Waynesboro is beyond. It's someplace else now. It's
Yeah.
probably more like Stanton, like where you're doing a great renovation project over in Stanton.
I have a rental property that I bought in Stanton. I'm renovating, and it's about 2 blocks away from downtown in the historical district. So yeah, those folks that got pushed out price point wise of Albemarle County and the Charlottesville area, they found it over there in Waynesboro. They get more house for their money, and over on the other side of the mountain, and you're going to start seeing more and more of that. People are coming, and that's historical over there too, and it's very pretty on that side of the mountain.
Yeah, and then in 5 years, they'll be the top 5 happiest places
Uh,
to live.
Realtor magazine called the Waynesboro area the #2 place to retire in America. This is the trade publication for your profession. The
My
number
dad's
2
best friend
place.
just retired down in
And it was
Waynesboro.
number 3. I've forgotten the name of the app, and you can help me out, Jerry, that tracks where people move. It was number 3 for boomers.
I'd be curious to compare the property taxes over there compared to Albemarle County. See if there's a huge difference or if it's just slightly different.
Very good stuff right here.
So year to date, Waynesboro, detached, single family detached, the median sales price is right at $300,000.
Yeah.
So I would saw that very affordable.
Yeah.
Very happy.
A great monthly payment
Yeah.
for those
Right at
looking.
$300,000.
And a beautiful drive.
I can't wait to get Carly's take, and we're already at 11:30
I know,
here.
and I have a 12 o'clock.
She's got 12 o'clock. Okay, so
Yeah.
we're going to wind up the show here very quickly. Viewers and listeners, we're not going to get to all the comments and questions today. We apologize. We're very grateful for your support and your comments and your perspective, but I got to get your take on the zoning change, the draft zoning ordinance for
I
Charlottesville
don't think
City.
that we agree on this.
Okay,
Jerry.
so that's why I want to ask you.
So I am, from
She's a
a civil
pro-
engineering
You're
perspective,
a
I
proponent,
think
right?
development needs to be where there's infrastructure.
Okay.
So I don't prescribe and do not like the idea of urban sprawl. Like
Okay.
I grew up in Manassas, Virginia, grew up by cows. I saw the urban sprawl of Northern Virginia, and it didn't help with anything. I think actually one of your people that don't like you shared something.
Oh, yeah. Which
about rents, and that they had a study about people with more lenient zonings, districts with more lenient zoning, upzoning, and the impact it had on rents. And one of the case studies was Tyson's Corner.
Okay.
And they were increasing their zoning densities and the impact that it had on rent. Tyson's, to have rent drop in Tyson's is really big deal, you know. And now the flip side of that coin is that's rents,
Right.
that's institutional owners, that's not private ownership, that's not private wealth development. So, you know, that was kind of my take on that. I'd like to see what it does on the affordability of private property ownership. But I think that a lot of people come here for the beauty of the countryside, and I think we need to keep development in the urban ring, and we need to make it as dense as possible. I mean, you go to places like Richmond, and you know, Richmond's probably about the same size market as ours, cars,
Oh,
but
no, Richmond's
I don't know how many population-wise, but like their
considerably
downtown is a real downtown. Charlottesville's not a real downtown. It's not a real city, you know.
So you're saying go up instead of out?
Yeah, I think so.
I would agree with that.
I think so.
So I know the Richmond market pretty well.
Not cost-wise, what is the population of just
Oh,
Richmond?
it's millions versus
Millions.
300,000.
I don't think
Richmond
it's
City's
the
not
whole.
No, I'm talking
Virginia
about-
total is
so
only
I-
8 million.
No, so I'm talking about.
Richmond City's 226,000.
Yeah.
So I have to include Chesterfield, Henrico. So if you just
Chester.
take the city of Charlottesville, we're only 50,000.
Yeah.
So you have to take the whole 6 jurisdictions, and we're around 300,000.
Yeah.
So I believe if you-
300,000 for Central Virginia in totality.
Yeah.
So our 6 jurisdictions, but it's called missing middle for a reason. So thank you for saying what you said. So it's missing middle because you're missing 2 things. You're missing the product. You're also missing the income, the middle income. So there's this huge spread between the haves and the have.
The Richmond metro area has a population of 1,260,000.
So a million.
I knew it was
the
over a million.
Richmond metro
Yes.
area. The city itself is 226,610, and that's from the 2020 census right there.
Yeah.
She's got a 12 o'clock.
Yep.
But we would continue
Yeah,
here. We
with
should have some
lawyers.
closing thoughts here. We should put this panel together again
We will.
and get the band back together.
We will
This
get
was
the band
Like
fantastic.
this is
This is
the
fun.
hitters in this room, right?
Do you
there.
enjoy this?
I
You enjoy
do.
this, right?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. She's got a take. She backs it up. He's got a take. He backs it up. Keith always backs it up. How about some closing thoughts from the very esteemed and very well-liked Kerry Griggs?
Ooh, so I'm going to direct this towards the tradesmen or anybody that is looking to get in the trades. Guys, it is going to be an industry in the next 10 years that you have the ability to really make a career of it and make a name for yourself, make good money. And if you're thinking about it, just go ahead and try it. You can look up most of this stuff on YouTube. If not, apprentice with somebody that is well-known, well-liked, and has a great reputation, and just get in whatever passion that you want to put together and help, bring this inventories problem to a close.
Very nice. Carly, show's yours.
I agree. I think trades are huge. My brother-in-law is an auto mechanic. My brother is an auto mechanic. My dad was a general contractor. I think trades are huge. I think that that's not going to solve immediately the
No.
problem that we're in, but the pickle that we got ourselves in, we need to think long-term to get ourselves out of.
The same with inventory. We've got to think long term,
Yep, long term.
not short term.
And on that long-term, with zoning infrastructure.
So we need to get you out of here. So let me wrap
Yeah, I
up
know.
here. So thank you, folks. Anytime you're welcome to come back. What I was hoped to happen today happened, was to demonstrate to the folks that are watching and listening that either new construction, which is production or custom, hire a trusted advisor. There's a ton of them watching. There's a couple of great ones sitting here at the table to help you navigate the process and get to the finish line, because you do need a trusted advisor to help you get to the finish line. Jerry, thank you.
Carly, Kerry, and Keith, the show is Real Talk. I thought today's show was absolutely fantastic. It was a lot of fun to host. For those that are asking, the show will be archived on realtalkwithkeithsmith.com. We encourage you to click the Partners tab and see the supply chain of people
Please.
that Keith has personally vetted and you can count on and trust. Also archived on ilovecville.com. Judah will take a picture of the 4 of us here in about 60 seconds. You'll still make your meeting on time. The I Love CVille show is up in 57 minutes, guys. Thank you kindly for joining us, and so long, everybody.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Tell us when